Good evening and welcome to the Boise Bus Tuesday Ticket. I am your host, David Logue, and I, as always, on these lovely Tuesdays, are joined by Mr. Phil McGinley and Regan Stevenson. Boys, how are we all doing?
Absolutely grand, mate. Fantastic. Yourself?
Aye, not bad. Just
Doing very well, David.
shitey weather again, Regan. The shitey weather. What's this all about?
Oh,
It's terrible.
It's brutal, man.
no wonder we go abroad for a holiday.
I know, but then when I get over there, I complain I'm too hot. So, I mean, you can't win with me, but then again, I'm a miserable fucker. So, so I've been told. But yes, if you're joining us to fill in the hour before the Spain-France game, you've made the right choice because we've got plenty to talk about today. But before we do that, all that good stuff. Give us a like, give us a share, slag it like a hair, go buy some if you want. And of course, become a Boise Bus member for a small cost of $1.99. There's no added extras, it's just your way of supporting the bus, and we thank you for doing that. I'd roll out all the members' names, but I'm not very good at it, but I'll give it a go. Like Gary Brown, like Alex Forsyth, like Johnny Logue, like Alex, like Tattoo Face 77, and many, many more. And of course, highsports.com, get on there, get your tasty basic treats for 12.5% off at the checkout. With Bus 1888. That's everything, isn't it?
That's it, mate. All off the checklist. That's it all done.
That's good. Obviously, we missed last Tuesday because I was in Madrid and Regan was busy. So Phil decided, let's just have a week off. And I thank you for it, Phil, because I think last week there was fuck all to talk about. And I think we're starting to just kind of pull stories out of our arse. But hey, that's what silly season's all about. Celtic do seem to have started to get the ball rolling. Maybe.
Perhaps. Yeah.
Perhaps stories come out in the last few days, which we're going to talk about. Guys, and we'll start off with the old Bernardo situation. Okay. So, Celtic are moving closer to securing the permanent transfer of Paulo Bernardo from Benfica with a bid of approximately 4.2 million on the table, and apparently it's been accepted. The negotiations now hinge on the percentage of a future sell-on clause, according to Portuguese journalists. Bernardo, who spent last season on loan at Celtic, made a notable impact. I suppose that's a fair word to use, notable impact. Featuring in 34 games across all competitions, scoring 4 goals and contributing 3 assists. Regan, the fee reported to be around 4.2 million. I'm not sure how accurate it is, and I don't know how accurate this is, but apparently he's being offered 18,000 a week, which apparently makes him the 6th highest paid player at the club. I don't know where they're getting that information from. We're not privy to who's in that top 6 chart of paid players, Regan, but let's say he is. Let's say that's bang on facts. Worth it?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I know people say he didn't play much, but I think you can say Bernardo scored a goal against Rangers, the 2-1 victory. When Kyogo scored the absolute belter into Jack Butland. So I think even on that, the display alone is worth it because Celtic won the league. And I think, obviously, it's obvious that there'll probably be a couple of big names from Celtic possibly on the way out. I think Matt O'Reilly for one. I think Rio possibly for a second. So I think in general, Bernardo's place will be there for him, and I think that Brendan Rodgers sees him as somebody he can develop, and as something that Brendan Rodgers enjoys doing. I mean, we've seen that with Stuart Armstrong, we've seen it with Paddy Roberts, we've seen it with Scott Sinclair. And I know Brendan Rodgers has probably done the same thing that he did with Edward, when he brought Edward to the club and he brought him in on loan and see how he got on. And I think it's the same thing with Bernardo. I know Edward scored a lot more goals, but I think Bernardo showed that he's got that player that Brendan Rodgers likes to really take on his wing and try and make him a better player. And I think as well, that he's a Portuguese under 21 player as well, and he's only going to get better as well. And I think if Celtic can get the right price for him, I think it's a no-brainer.
Phil, we saw flashes of what I think Rodgers has seen as good potential of a really good player. Maybe not as enough for me as I would have liked, but then again, I think that maybe summed up the whole of the season for Celtic. There's been arguments being made that he is the ready-made replacement for O'Reilly. I don't know. I personally don't know. I don't want to say he's the ready-made replacement. I certainly think he's a player that comes in and maybe helps fill a void. Maybe. I don't know if he's like. I just don't know if he just walks straight into that starting 11 for me next season. Maybe at that price tag he will, which isn't a lot. We know it's not a lot in today's money, but for Celtic to spend 4.2 million on a player after a loan deal, it kind of tells me he will walk straight into that starting midfield. But the argument also has been made, Phil, that we're spending 4.2 million to stand still. Is that a fair comment? Is that a fair statement from some fans, from opposition fans as well as our own?
Well, opposition fans are always going to say that they did that a couple of years ago as well, and that didn't quite work out for them with our standing still comments. In terms of Bernardo, I think he will come on to be a very key player for us. I think there's enough flashes there we saw last season. Well, yeah, you're right, and I understand what you're saying about maybe for yourself, you don't think he's shown enough. But when you think about it, see the things that he did show, they are so crucial to how our season went. Yes, he wasn't consistently delivering in every single game. But when you take away the things that he did contribute, the goal against Rangers at New Year, the pass at Idah that obviously got us 3-2 up at Ibrox, which in the end turned out to be a crucial point, even though at the time I think we were all a bit disappointed that we lost a goal so late in stoppage time, but that point did prove crucial. And of course, in the cup final, even though Adam Idah gets the glory of the goal, is the run from Paulo Bernardo from the centre circle, where he absolutely rinses Nicholas Raskin, leaves him in the dust, and just runs through and just decides nothing else has been going our way today. I'm just going to have a go at this here. And of course, Butland couldn't hold on to it. So crucial moments, but if you take them out, then our season doesn't go the way it does at all. So there was moments there when you actually look at them, how crucial they were, big moments. So I'm happy to get him over the line. One thing I'm also really encouraged about is, of course, because Paulo Bernardo has featured a lot in every single Tuesday Ticket episode for the last month. But, of course, the story has now changed. We're no longer talking about a stumbling block in the wages. So it seems like that has now been sorted. That is now fixed. Whatever they've agreed, they've sorted that. And it's now just a case of the sell-on fee. And we know Benfica, they were a bit stung by what happened to the Jota deal. So I imagine they will be making sure they can get the absolute maximum they can get on this one. But yeah, I think if he's given a good run of games next season, I think we will see the best of him. And I agree with what you've said about replacements for Matt O'Reilly. I think I said way back about a month ago when this story was first doing the rounds that it looks like it's going to happen. I said he's a good start, but he shouldn't be the finish in terms of midfield recruitment. He can do a job, no doubt about it, but there's a couple of bodies I think we need for the midfield for going into next season.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Phil. I just want to make clear, I definitely want to see Bernardo signed. I think I maybe came across quite negative when I said that for me he's not shown enough. What I'm saying is he's not shown enough not to be signed, because I think Vegan made a good point, is Brendan can make Bernardo, Ian said it as well, but Brendan can make Bernardo a superstar. He's seen enough for flashes of brilliance to go, there is a player to be unlocked there. What I was saying was, I haven't seen enough to make me feel that he is the ready-made replacement for. But then, if you're signing a guy at 4.2 million, he's not going to be the ready-made replacement for a 25 million pound rated.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, has he got the potential to become that? Absolutely, because I don't think anybody's seen Matt O'Reilly being signed for peanuts becoming the player that he is, despite obviously we knew there was potential there. Let's stick to midfield just now. I don't actually have this in my notes, but because we're talking about recruitment in the midfield, we've just had our first pre-season game, which by all accounts was nothing more than a bit of a publicity stunt. But I think the person that benefited the most from that was Scott Brown and his side, which is fine. But it's a wee little. It was a friendly by all accounts. That's all it was. I think there's too much being made about this boy. Is it Lawal? How do you pronounce his name? Lawal.
Yeah. All I can see though when I look at it, as you see Lawal, maybe he's just on my mind rent free all the time, but I believe it's Lawal. Yeah, if it's.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, there is obviously potential there, but if this is the thing. But I think we always kind of have a conflicting arguments about amongst ourselves, and even within myself. It's like I want to see this boy develop and do well, and there's flashes there that could. But then we're trying to get stronger to go and compete in this new Champions League. Is he the answer? But we're all screaming for us to go and open up the purse, start spending the money. We've got this young boy coming back from Fleetwood who looks a monster. He's not the answer, especially after a game again, 45 minutes against the Ayr. Let's all just calm down. I think he's maybe he would benefit from going out on loan again, maybe in this league. But I don't want to be seeing him starting every week for Celtic. Bring him on off the bench. Is he a better option than, say, Odin Thiago Home? We don't know that. We don't know yet. But I mean, I certainly wouldn't be against him getting a game ahead of him. But equally, I still think maybe we should just put him out on loan and let him develop a wee bit more in this midfield role. Because I think, Regan, am I right in saying he was a centre half? And now he's went out to Fleetwood, and then Charlie Adams seen him as more of a midfielder. And now he's, and I think he scored 5 or 6 goals for a struggling Fleetwood side that got relegated out of the professional league. But apparently he's the answer to our Champions League midfield going forward. And what's your guys' thoughts? I'm sounding really negative, and I don't want to be putting the boy down before he kicked the ball, but I'm looking at the comments from the game the other night, and I'm thinking, surely this boys know the answer for our midfield issues yet. Anyway,
I think you're spot on, David, and I think because of social media, people can overreact and go, "This guy's standing out," but people need to realise that the opposition we're playing against a championship side that finished 6th in the Scottish second the second league last year, and I think we need to be real as well. I mean, we're talking about this guy, he deserves a chance. So you telling me that if we played Ibrox in 3 weeks' time, you'd be happy for Lawal to start? Of course you wouldn't. You know, I mean, this was the same squad that Kobayashi played and O played in, and Brendan Rodgers is already saying that Kobayashi and O is not part of his plan. So, you know, and I think we just need to temper expectations. I know there's some people on social media that can go overboard, and I just feel like sometimes we just need to temper expectations, because I'll give you an example, right? I mean, Tony Ralston, I mean, fair play to the guy. He's did a very good job, but we've also seen that Tony Ralston's he's not bad, but we've also seen that he was at fault for Scotland at the Euros. He played only 6 matches for Celtic last season, and this is a guy that every opposition during the European Championships was targeting Tony Ralston. So you know, I mean, so if somebody like Tony Ralston's not able to get in, but if you're telling me that Bolson Lawal is going to strengthen Celtic to win a treble next year, and for Brendan Rodgers to do well in the Champions League, I don't think that's the way that we should be looking at it. I mean, how many times have we been on the Tuesday ticket and stuff over the last few weeks and saying that the board need to give Brendan the money, and now I feel as if people are looking backwards going, well, it's okay though, because we've got Lawal come back from Fleetwood. I mean, like you said there, David, Fleetwood just got relegated under Charlie Adam. It's not as if they've done really well, and he's been a standout player, and he's done really well. I mean, the obvious example that I can give to you is remember when Brendan Rodgers first came in and we seen Ryan Christie? He went to Aberdeen. I think if he went to Aberdeen or a Motherwell or something for maybe one or 2 years, then we can maybe go, yeah, we've seen him and he's done really well. But I think if you were to throw Lawal in, I don't think it's the best thing to do right now. Because I think like people are saying about Lawal like a standout. I mean, he was playing in a squad with Kobayashi, Scott Bain. Of course he's going to stand out because the guys are not very good for Celtic anymore. And I think if we want to improve, like everybody wants Celtic to improve, that's not what we want to do to go to Champions League. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't want Lawal to be anywhere near a Champions League squad next season.
I don't want to see him start, Regan. Again, that's just like being maybe overly jumping on it here, Phil. But like he's a big, powerful lad, big strides, makes nice forward runs, and makes a nice pass. There's potential there. What I'm saying is he can't be the answer yet for our midfield. I think that's the point I'm making. I hope he develops well, and if he's going to be around, and again, we've just sat and said that Brendan's going to make Bernardo a superstar. Well, Brendan he's maybe seen enough to go, well, actually, I'd like maybe keep him around the first team and he'll learn, and we'll maybe sprinkle him in here and there in cup games, blah, 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 blah. Maybe we'll put him out on loan in January just to get a better look at him. That's fine by me. I don't want him starting in our first Champions League game alongside whoever's going to Bernardo and whoever else, Hatate or whoever. Phil. Lawal. His name's doing my name. Lawal.
Yes.
Lawal. Thoughts?
Quite a lot, actually, to be fair, because this name has been haunting me for a wee while now during pre-season. Because I am like yourself. I would obviously like him to develop into something, that could be useful for us going forward. It'd be great to see something from the B team actually be able to make a mark in this day and age, because it seems to be few and far between these days. Can't remember really the last time it happened, especially now in this new model with the B team playing the lower divisions, and they're getting runouts against civil service strollers and whatnot. So it'd be good to see if some player from that crop can be of use to us. But yeah, this name keeps coming up, and I mean, pardon me for not being too enthused. Last season on loan at an English third tier team that got relegated. Maybe he was a standout. I know Matt O'Reilly was playing the third tier of English football, but beforehand, there was a lot of hype around O'Reilly when he left Fulham, I believe it was. There was a lot of clubs looking at him then. Yeah. So one of my concerns about the Lawal thing at the moment, and the way his name is being pushed in certain circles of fan media, is if Celtic have an underwhelming window, which could happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I still remain confident that they will do all the necessary strengthening that they do. But if it doesn't, I'm worried at the end of the window it's going to be like, oh, look at this guy. He's like a new signing, everybody. And it's like, because then what you're doing is you're putting a lot of pressure on that boy's shoulders. And it's like he then has to hit the ground running. Because remember when Idah signed in January and everybody was underwhelmed and he became the poster boy for a bad window, albeit it worked out well in the end. But remember the vitriol and the anger that was aimed at the poor lad when he signed, and it wasn't his fault because the club put him in that position. I am worried that Lawal will end up in a similar vein if this window is not good, where it's going to be pushing like, oh, look at him, he's like a new signing to us, everybody. He'll be in the first team this season. He'll cop a lot of flack if he doesn't hit the ground running, and that's not fair on the lad at all. But I do hope that he does develop into something, but he needs to be bled into the squad slowly over time. Not right away. The idea of him coming in right away and making an impact, I don't think so. So for me, at the moment, I'm not massively infused with that idea. And yeah, cup games will probably be the best way to utilise them early in the season. The League Cup comes around early on. If we get some kind of draws there, maybe get them a couple of starts in that and go from there. As Regan says, if we were playing Rangers, we are playing them early in the season. We're playing them at Celtic Park in the fourth game of the season. Would you be happy if he was starting in that game? I don't think I would, man. That would reflect badly on where the club is at the end of the transfer window, because I believe that's the first game after the window closes. So again, yeah. That would be my feeling on it.
Speaking of Adam Idah, we'll move on to him.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there's reports coming out that it's looking like he's moving closer and closer to signing for Celtic. However, some comments came out either today or yesterday from the Norwich City manager, Johannes Hoff-Thorpe.
Yep.
Like that one, Regan.
Very, very good done,
I can't say Lawal, but or any Italian name. So he has told supporters that he wants to convince Adam Idah that his future belongs at Carrow Road rather than at Celtic. The New Canaries boss has described the Ireland international as an interesting player, and he wants time to assess him in training. This is what he had to say. He said, "See it from another perspective. Imagine that he was a striker in another club with his track record, with his history, academy background, and so on. What would we say about him? We would say he is quite an interesting striker, I would guarantee. I hope that he will find that the way we do things now will also encourage him. He will also give him the feeling that, okay, this is the right place for me." Regan, how long should Celtic pursue this chase on Adam Idah? I feel like we're going around in circles. And I mean, personally, I do think the deal will happen. It just seems that the Norwich manager's very, very keen to keep a hold of him, or at least for a little while, to see if he's going to be his main striker. And after 9 goals, 2 assists, and 19 appearances, crucial goals at Easter Road, Fir Park, and Ibrox, and a winner in the Scottish Cup final against Rangers, I don't blame him. But so we need to weigh this up. Everything I've just said there in terms of goals, assists, etc. How long does Celtic pursue this? Because I haven't heard of any other alternative striker options that Celtic are really closely linked with. So somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I maybe missed that. But I'm just concerned that we're chasing a guy like Adam Idah, who's not even guaranteed to be the number 1 striker next season. Not saying that they can't have to, but we know what Kyogo is at the minute in terms of the pecking order. How long does Celtic chase this guy for us to turn around and for Adam Idah to turn around, or the Norwich to turn around and say he's no coming, and then it's panic stations?
David, I know for the long term Tuesday ticket viewers, I did say a few weeks ago when I was on the show for the very first time that I did feel that this would be a long-winded transfer. I did say 15th of August, remember, Phil? I did say that a few weeks ago. And we did joke about it. We did joke about it last week.
You did, yes.
On messages, but I personally feel that Brendan Rodgers wants him. I listened to quotes from him the other night, and he's basically saying that Adam Idah is a player that I like, and he's a player that I've told him what I think of him and stuff like that. So I think Brendan Rodgers knows that who he wants, and I think Brendan Rodgers will go. I think he'll go to the longest possible point that he thinks is able to go. But I think I would probably say about the 10th of August for me, David, because I think it's something. And I personally say that because I personally feel that it's somebody that Brendan Rodgers wants, and I think as well because if you look at Adam Idah, it's not as if he's somebody that he's come in and the Celtic supporters are not really enamored by him, they're not really supportive by him because he's the guy that won Celtic the double last season. He was the guy that came in and potentially won us the title. I remember that game against Motherwell when Kyogo was hopeless that day and Adam Idah scored the 2 goals that day. A great ball in with Johnson and then the header. He got that goal back. So I just feel like Adam Idah, he won us the title last season for me because I don't feel like if he come in, then I don't think we'll be sitting here being the champions because as much as O's a decent striker, I still think that I don't think Brendan Rodgers trusted him, and I think if you look at the earlier part of the season, I think that's when a lot of the fans were losing faith in Brendan Rodgers because when you look at it, when Brendan Rodgers was starting to get fed up. He brought on people like Owen Bernabe, and that was a kind of message to the board. The more that you look at it, because I just feel like Brendan Rodgers will try and get the Adam Idah deal done, David. I really do, and I think he'll go to the longest possible point. I don't think he'll mind. I just think he's one of these deals that Brendan Rodgers will wait for him. You know,
Phil, when Adam Idah came in, I can't remember if I said it on here, or maybe I might have put it in the group chat, but I kind of jokingly said, watch this, Idah's going to be class for us if we never bothered to put in a loan to buy option. That's just typical of Celtic. The reason we didn't put in a loan to buy, do you think it had something to do with maybe the board didn't quite fully trust Brendan Rodgers' scouting on this boy? Like, because I mean, let's take it back to when Ange wanted Idah, a guy that none of us had heard of. It was an obligation to buy, and he was quite happy to. The board were quite happy for that to happen, but the board weren't happy to sign off on a trying to get an option to buy in this loan deal. I mean, Rodgers very high on the boy. Clearly, he's obviously known fine well that this is going to go well, and I'm going to want him next season, as we've seen clearly. So why wasn't that pushed when we first got him in? Do you think it was just the board gave in and just panic stations, or did they not trust Rodgers at the time, or was Rodgers even going to be here next season? There's so many questions that need to be answered, because I just feel like we've shot ourselves in the foot here, and it's what's happened is exactly what I kind of was joking about, saying, watch this, he's going to be class, and then Norwich aren't going to want to give him up anymore.
Well, I think overall it's a deal where they've panicked and it's paid off, and they've not expected it to. Because if I remember right, there was a bit of a contradictory information being put out at the time. Because I think Idah had said that he'd only been in contact like days before the window had closed, but I think the club or Brendan had put out some sort of some chat somewhere that they'd been chasing him for a wee while, but then he kind of contradicted that. So I don't think it's a case of they didn't trust Brendan. I think it's a case of this guy's been available. They've decided, right, let's go for that. They've got him in. And that's probably why they've not put any sort of, buyout on it, because they probably just thought it's by a gamble, and it's ended up paying off. And yeah, we now find ourselves in a position where we're having to negotiate it. But the latest story is, and I know, Regan, you're saying August 15th, August 10th, but again, the story's changed so much in the last few days. But the last sort of story that's came out in the media is that now Adam Idah has told Norwich he wants to go. And at the end of last season, when you watched these scenes after the cup final, a boy who's got his Cork that he's from in Ireland, grew up a Celtic fan, he's had that moment. Maybe I'm just being naive because I'm a Celtic fan, but if you're standing there, those scenes going on around you at the end of that cup final, there's no way you could be thinking, I can't wait to go back to Norwich next season and try my luck there. Surely at that point, he's already made up his mind. I'll go back down there and I'll obviously try and force the issue. And I think, he's got to be doing that now, because it's obviously Norwich are going to, or the new manager is going to come out and say he wants to have a look at him and assess him and whatnot. But yeah, I feel like Adam Idah has to, force it through and say the most recent story that's came out is that he is trying to push for the move to happen. So I think it will happen and be quite imminent as well. There's a bold prediction. I know Rega's saying August 10th, August 15th. I think it will happen within the next... Well, before we go to the USA, which I believe is... First game in the USA is the 21st of July. I think him and Bernardo will definitely be on board before we go out to America.
Does Bernardo become the 7th highest earned player at the club when Idah comes in? Because there's been no mention of stumbling blocks when it comes to wages. Now, we're talking about the English Championship. One of the higher up clubs in the English Championship, they can blow us out of the water when it comes to wages, Phil. Now, I know what you're saying about maybe we're being naive and thinking, wow, I'm a Celtic fan, scoring that win in the final against Rangers. Look at what it means to the fans. I'm a hero here, but my checkbook's not as fat. Now, does that come into consideration here, Regan? Because we're talking all these stumbling blocks for Bernardo, who had a arguably less successful loan spell. is demanding X amount of wages after tax, which we've never heard getting spoken about ever when we're talking about transfers. But yet there's been nothing about Adam Idah's wages becoming a stumbling block. So is he on, he's been a developmental player through the ranks at Norwich. Maybe he's not on as high wages, but nothing's stopping the Norwich board turning around saying, listen, we really do want you to stay, and we're willing to match, if not better, what Celtic are willing to offer you, and we'll certainly make you better than the sixth highest paid player at the club. Does that become an issue?
No, I don't think it'll become an issue, because I think a lot of people tend to forget as well that a lot of these things. I get that the transfer window's open between July and August and stuff like that, but a lot of these talks go on throughout the season. I'm sure that Brendan Rodgers is talking to his agent, and Peter Lawal on the board are talking to his agent. Because it's not just a case of they wake up on the 1st of July and they go, oh, who are we going to sign today? They'll be talking about it for months and months and months. And I'm sure, I don't know if you guys seen the interview that Brendan Rodgers did with the broadcast media the other day, and he said, so how are you getting on with the signings? And he said, well, we certainly, I think he said 9 players that could have possibly signed. I think he said Celtic could have possibly signed 9 players so far, but it just wasn't the right players. And he also said that sometimes it's on the wages and the player side as well. So it's already stumbling blocks. I mean, I know people are starting to get a little bit on edge in terms of Celtic going to have a good window, but I think at this point I'm not worried, because Brendan Rodgers and the board knew exactly what they needed. They knew they needed a striker because O's going to go, and they knew that they needed a goalkeeper as well, and they knew they needed a left back because Bernardo's away. And I think I don't know if you guys remember, but we played Aberdeen away, or Aberdeen at home maybe, and Brendan Rodgers was talking about the fact that when he was first here, that the second squad at Celtic beat the first squad at Celtic. And he spoke about Stuart Armstrong being in the second squad, and Ryan Christie being the second squad, and Edward being the second squad, and playing against Lee Griffiths and Dembele, and how he wanted to get back to that. He wanted to get back to that. In training, he had 2 competitive squads. So I don't feel like Brendan Rodgers is going to make the same mistakes again, because Brendan Rodgers knows that he needs to get it right. Because as much as the projects as well, but Brendan Rodgers knows now that sometimes you can have too many projects, and I'm sure that he's told the board. I mean, I know people are getting a little bit on edge, like I said before, but I don't know why, but I've just got full trust in Brendan now, because I think now that he's been in the job now as well, he knows what he needs. I think it's a bit different when you come in as the manager, and you can put a little bit of sprinkle on the Postecoglou's squad. But I think now, because he's been there 12 months and he knows who's there and who he needs to address, I think as well that he'll know. You know what I mean? The fact that he was talking about James Forrest as the best white player at the club as well, that's a better statement to the board as well, of the fact that Yang, Sead Haksabanovic, people like that, I mean, they're not going to be there, so you need a couple of white players as well. And we know Brendan Rodgers, he said they've got too many white players before, so you probably need, I don't know, you probably need a lot of players, but it's just a case of are the Celtic board going to back him, and I hope they do. But I think as well that a lot of these stories can change overnight, so I'm not worried. See if it gets to the 21st of August and we've still not got MD in, then I'll be worried then. But I'm probably going to say that by the time we go to New York, I'll say we'll have at least 4 or 5 players in.
I think we'll see the floodgates will open, and I think we'll just start seeing announcements happen quite quickly once they start. But I am beginning to get bored of waiting, and I think. I mean, it's the optics as well. Like, I mean, he's saying we could be signing. Well, we could have signed 9 players already, Phil. I don't know. Is there a bit of tongue in cheek in saying like we've been linked with all these players, or is he actually saying we could have signed, but we've got boys but we've decided against it? When you've seen like Rangers are signing a lot of players right now, their transfer windows far more active than ours. I think that also then almost heightens the stress levels of us going, why are we not signing people yet? But we have to just, like Regan says, we need to just trust the manager. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't want to just sign anybody. I mean, you could just take a look back at the window where we signed Shane Duffy.
I try not to look back at that window, but yes.
David, please,
the reason I'm bringing this nightmare up is because on paper, when you saw all the players lined up, who we signed in that window, wow, what a window. What a window, man. Look at all that. A Greek international goalkeeper, Ireland's centre-half monster at the back. Was he Argentinian? What was he? Uruguayan,
Diego Axel, yep.
What a window, man. Look at them all. There's about 10 of them. Every single one of them were fucking horrendous. Utter dross. Was a Yeti in that window too? He was.
Yes.
So I think that puts into perspective. We just need to sometimes, let's all just chill. But we can't. We're Celtic fans.
Yeah.
Just let it out. That's it. We're all here to vent and give each other a wee cuddle. And
the thing is, it's I know what you mean about the optics of them across the city. Don't be too concerned with what they're doing right now. I think I recently did an episode of Bustalgia looking at the season that just passed, and when you go back to last summer, they were doing the same thing, and it was very scattergun. Danilo, Lammers, Kieran Dowell. These are the types of guys they were signing, but they were signing more players than us at the time. And naturally, you're going to get a wee bit angsty, but they don't have a strategy at all, so I wouldn't worry too much about them. They are very much scattergun in their approach. And with the 9 players thing that Brendan Rodgers did, I think that's just part of the course of Brendan. He's partial to a wee snarky answer here and there. So yeah, I think it was just one of these. We could have signed 9, but yeah, they're waiting on the right people coming along. That's him just demonstrating that we could have signed 9 players for the sake of it, and it could be like them across the city. You could end up with the window you just spoke about there. So if you don't do your due diligence on these players, I've said plenty of times, but you don't need to spend a fortune. You just need to do the right type of scouting. And maybe from last summer, maybe they've learned that, they need to change their strategy, and maybe they are being a bit more diligent now in what they're scouting and what they're looking for, particularly the goalkeeper, because he did also highlight in that same interview that Regan's talking about, he said, it's an area we need to improve, the keyword being need. So he realises that Scott Bain is not the answer. And I know a lot of fans are worried about Scott Bain, and there is obviously this fear that he's going to start the season as the number 1 keeper and might even be the number 1 keeper. They're even worried about it going all the way to the transfer window. But I think the fact that Brendan used the word need to improve tells me that they are definitely in the market to make that happen.
You're good at these wee segues, Phil. So Celtic have reportedly been sent signals by Sparta Prague that they are not willing to sell Peter Vindahl Jensen. However, it is claimed that the door could be open to deal following the Czech side's push for the Champions League group stage. The Daily Record. They've revealed that the Hoops have revived their interest in the 26-year-old as they look to find a successor to Joe Hart. With the shortstopper just retired at the end of the season, it's understood that Vindahl Jensen sees Celtic as a path to making a move to the English Premier League.
He's not the only one this week that's made comments like that.
As well as giving him a better chance of breaking into the Danish national side, but Sparta Prague are keen to keep the star that they signed on a permanent deal in March. Check out the iSport claim that the club have reportedly sent signals that they are unwilling to sell their number 1. Well. One of the potential 9 that we could have signed. Jensen.
Is that 9 goalkeepers, aye? Because that's how many I think we've been linked with in the last 2 weeks.
What's our thoughts on Jensen, Regan. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know anything about the boy, but he's 26-year-old goalkeeper playing for Sparta Prague, reasonably good level, good, big club. They only signed in March, which I find a bit odd. I don't know why they would be looking to sell him. If that's when they signed him anyway. But is that the right pedigree of goalkeeper? And what's your thoughts on him seeing Celtic as a potential stepping stone to the Premier League?
I think it is, David, but fair play to the boy if he's going to choose Glasgow over Prague. I know where I'd rather be, but no, I think in terms of him, I think he's probably a very good standard goalkeeper because Sparta Prague are always in the later stages of European competition, and it's not something that we can say. I know people like Boise and Phil and all that talk about 2003 and all that, and we've not qualified for a knockout game in so long and stuff like that. So, like, I think he's got the relevant experience of stuff like that. But do I think he'll be the one that they'll sign? No. I think it'll be somebody that Brendan Rodgers knows. I know Mark Benstead said Schmeichel to Brendan Rodgers when he asked him a question on Sky, but I just think it'll be somebody that Brendan Rodgers knows. I know.
If you say Danny Ward, I'm kicking you to this.
That's what I was waiting to get mentioned there, and I was like, no.
I'm kicking you to this podcast if you even mention this.
If it's Danny Ward, I will no longer appear on the Boise bus. I will hand in my Tuesday ticket notice.
I would need 3 weeks' notice for handing that in, mate. I have to get boys on this show.
Oh my God.
Oh, I said Kasper Schmeichel, maybe 2 years ago, Kasper Schmeichel, but I mean, I said that though, I thought he actually looked alright in the Euros. He's still nimble.
It's uncanny how much he's like his dad. Like even in his style of play, just the way that he's able to close players down as they're bearing in on goal and all that, make himself big, as Peter Schmeichel used to do. But yeah, you're replacing a 37-year-old goalkeeper with, I believe, who's also a 37-year-old goalkeeper. And I know keepers can play a lot longer because they don't have to do all the running about. But we did see some cracks in Joe Hart's game last season. Obviously, second half of the season, he became Superman after he handed in his notice. But before that, we were all saying, "Oh, Joe Hart's really worrying us," even at the start of the season. So to me, I don't think at that level. No, I wouldn't go. Say Schmeichel a few years ago, you're probably right. I would say no doubt about it. Bite the hand off for that one, but I think we're a couple of years too late on that one.
It's a big if. Let's just say we can't get any of these goalkeepers in. None. Nobody wants to come for whatever reason, Regan. And that big Danish symbol goes up in the sky for one season just to tide us over. Would you take him?
I would take him, no problem. I know people talk about, he's 50 and all that in the comments, but I think
he's 50.
The important thing for me to look at, you listen to a lot of podcasts with Joe Hart, David, and a lot of people didn't want Joe Hart. I mean, Burnley didn't want Joe Hart, and Spurs didn't want him, and even the club that he was with in Serie A, they chose the guy that now plays for Lazio in Serie A. They chose him instead. So I think that people need to remember that Joe Hart was on his last legs when he joined Celtic. So, nobody wanted him. So, and I think Schmeichel's somebody that would appreciate Celtic because it looks as if he kind of enjoys that. I mean, look at his time at Leicester. That was a club that really kind of fought against the big boys down south, and they still managed to qualify for the Champions League. They qualified for European competition under Brendan Rodgers. They also famously won the Premier League with him and goal as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's a bad guy for the big for the big matches. And as well, people forget that about the influence that Joe Hart had in the dressing room. And I'm sure Michael would have a big influence on people like
He would. Yep.
Stephen Welsh, Scales, people like that. Because, like, as much as we think that Stephen Welsh is a bad player and stuff, but I'm sure that people like, see when you've got a player like Joe Hart behind you and Schmeichel, these guys are great at talking you through a match as well. I mean, obviously Flo will tell you from being at most of the games, but Joe Hart was very vocal to his back line. I thought it would be the same with Schmeichel as well.
I raised an eyebrow there when you said about his influence in the dressing room. I'm not sure we're getting the same sort of influence you're getting from a Joe Hart. I think Kasper Schmeichel's sort of a track record of being a bit of a what's the word? I don't say nuisance, not a nuisance, but
he's
like,
a bit outspoken. Is that what you're looking for?
He caused a lot of controversy when it went out to France. He fell out with the manager fairly quickly.
That's right.
Wasn't he happy about something? And that fell sour pretty quickly. And I think he spat his stomach pretty bad out there. So I just don't think you're going to get the same level of professionalism and maybe as we would have got out of Joe Hart. I don't, to be honest, we're probably wasting our time talking about it because I don't think, I personally don't think he will be signed anyway. But yeah, I don't know. Kasper Schmeichel, like I said, I think I say we signed him. Say no, we couldn't get any of these deals done. So Brendan was forced his hand and he went for Kasper Schmeichel for that season. I think you're putting a plaster over a pretty large gaping wound.
David, I just hope Monty in the comments is having a joke here.
Yeah, I see it. I was going to say, Monty, you menace. I think we should all get right behind Scott Bain and save our money. No, Mark Kearney will be raging right now seeing that comment. He'll be angry. Yeah. Please, no. That is not the answer.
That's not your kettle whistling. That's the steam coming out of Mark Kearney's ears after reading that comment. Right, speaking of stepping stones, there was an interview came out that's caused a bit of a stir online today. Comments made by our very own Rio Hatate. He says there are still many higher leagues in Europe, so if I can challenge for those leagues, I want to do so. I would like to play in the Premier League as well as in Spain and Italy, which I have personally interested in. I don't know if you're just gone off camera, if you've nipped away. So
he picked up his phone before that happened, so he must be checking.
That was
something.
Mark. I think that was Mark.
That was Mark. Yeah, Mark was right on.
Did I just hear Scott Bain's? While Regan's calming down Mark Kearney, I will ask him. I'll ask you, Phil. What's your opinions on these types of comments from Rio Hatate? To put in context, he was asked by a Japanese journalist on a YouTube channel. He's out in Japan. About what's his future ambitions as a football player? Is there a lack of respect being shown here, or is this just a player that's just been honest and shown that he has ambitions to play at a higher level than the Scottish Premier League? Because I don't think any Japanese player has ever grown up to go, I'd love to just play in the Scottish Premier League. So what's your thoughts, Phil? Was it disrespectful from the club that he's playing for? Or is it just maybe a breath of fresh air that he's just being honest and he's just got ambitions like any professional football player does?
I think it's ambitions. And to be fair, I'm not angry about it because to me, it's like, right, well, see if you want that big move, see if you want to play for a big club in a big league, then you need to earn it. So to do that, you've got to start putting in some top draw performances for us. And this isn't the first time that these comments have came about with Rio Hatate. He talked about Champions League. I think it was not long after that Real Madrid game where he did that pass, which got celebrated all the place in a game that we did lose 3-0. But hey, we did hit the crossbar. Remember that? Remember that was celebrated as well. Remember about there, it was all this talking. I think he'd said something similar in an interview with Japanese media about how he wanted to, move on at some point, test himself against, top players and top competitions, big leagues. But obviously injury hampered him last season. Had injury not happened, I think this summer there would be a lot of talking moving on right now. But I think that's probably kept him with us for another year. But if that's the case, if he wants that big move, I understand where Celtic are in the food chain. It's hard to accept, I know, for many. But sadly, that's just the way we are in Scottish football. And we usually get 2-3 years out of these players and sell them on for big money. But for me, Rio Hatate coming out and saying that, it's a case of, right, well, if you want that big move, you're going to need to now earn it and get yourself, get the attention of these big teams. And for me, it's like, well, is that you should do, for the next year, hopefully we'll see the absolute best of Rio Hatate if he stays fit. And by all means, he'll get his big move when it comes along. But right now, if he's wanting to leave right now for one of those types of leagues, I think he's in for a bit of a surprise. I don't think the demand will be there. So he's had a year there where he's been out for most of the season and we haven't had a chance to see the best of him. I do find it quite odd that one Ange Postecoglou hasn't come knocking for him. If anybody knows how good Rio Hatate be, you'd think it would have been Ange Postecoglou. I think many of us predicted a year ago when Ange jumped to Tottenham Hotspur, we thought the first player he's going to come for is going to be Rio Hatate. Maybe Dyson Maeda, because again, he loves Dyson Maeda. But no, Rio Hatate, no came looking for him in any way. Isn't any talk of him ever being linked with Tottenham. So I think, this year going forward, if Rio Hatate does feel that way and he wants that move, then go out and earn it. And that means doing the absolute best for Celtic, which can only benefit us over the course of the next year. And you'll get his big move, and the board will be rubbing their hands together when they get all that big money coming in as well. They'll love it.
Which is capable of, Regan. There's a bit of revisionism in the comments on Twitter today in terms of get him to fucking shite anyway. Well, it was these shite anyway when we were missing him the majority of the season. And when I feel like there's no coincidence that when Cameron Carter-Vickers and Rio Hatate both came back into the side that we looked like a far better side overall. I do think it's just a case I didn't fancy anyway kind of syndrome coming out with. Which listen, we're football fans, we get like that. We just fuck you then. If you don't want to play for us, then just go. I think 1888 CFC. He's saying Hatate's doing his nothing and to get him to fuck. It's fair to feel that way because you do almost feel like, well, is he committed to Celtic? And if you're not fully committed to Celtic, then that tells me you're not going to put 100%. But that's not going to get you your move, like Phil said. So Rio Hatate is capable of getting a move to Spain, Italy, or England. I don't think he's necessarily a top 4 club in any of those leagues, kind of player. But he's certainly capable of playing in those leagues. But he's going to have to prove it on the pitch this season, Regan. I don't think we sell him now. I think we've still got a good player on our hands here. And if he wants to leave, then we'll do what Norwich are doing and we'll try and get the best deal for him. But I'd be disappointed if he leave.
I feel like sometimes, that person that said that there, I think sometimes it can be misconstrued because you need to remember that if he's going over to his homeland on holiday and he's been asked by a reporter, do you want to play in Spain, Germany, and the Premier League? He's not going to he's not going to turn around and go, no, I want to stay in Glasgow for the rest of my time and I want to do whatever. These guys have got ambition as well. And like Phil was saying, Celtic are on that chain where they want you to develop as well. Look at Tierney, a Celtic supporter who Celtic knew that they could get 25 million and they thought, right, we're going to sell you. I know football's a romantic love story to most people, but I think in terms of him, see if he does 3 or 4 years at Celtic and he's done very well, there's probably nothing else for him to achieve here. The only thing that he can achieve the Celtic board is probably a lot of money. And I think in terms of him, this is where I'll never sit on the bit where I get angry at a player. The only time I'll get angry at a player is like somebody like Quan, who never played for Celtic before, and he signed a 5-year deal. And he's saying, well, I know I'm going to stand out in Scotland. I know I'm going to play in the Premier League. That's the kind of player I don't like, where he's not even played 1 second for Celtic. He's already saying, I don't mind Hatate, but he's already played 4 seasons, and he's saying, right, well, I've got the belief that I've done well in Celtic and I can get a move. But the fact that Quan's not even played 1 second for Celtic, he's already saying it. And I think as well, the commenter needs to remember that I feel as if Rio wasn't playing the second half of last season, I don't think Celtic will win that title. I think Brendan Rodgers would probably admit it himself, because the pace of Celtic completely changed when Rio was back in the team, because the whole team moved at a quicker pace, and I just feel like sometimes, like you said, because he's been told to move, sometimes you get that reaction from the fans. But I think sometimes you need to remember that these guys are no Celtic supporters. They're playing for Celtic, and obviously
It's a job for them to get it.
And people like Edward and Samaran say that they check the scores every week, but like these guys are not going to stay here for the rest of their time, because for them the Glasgow is not the be all and end all. You know.
No, I think I'll just quickly round it off. I mean, I think we need to remember where his roots in football have come from. Like in Japan, this guy went to college to be a professional football player. Essentially, I think he was he went through college, the college systems out there. He's not grew up a Celtic supporter, and we're not talking about Idah here, who wants to come to Celtic. His ambition is maybe to play for Celtic one day and be a hero at Celtic. Hopefully, Rio Hatate's been fortunate enough to get his move from a Japanese college team to Celtic, and unfortunately for us, we are where we are in the food chain in terms of where these guys want to be playing their trade. Everybody wants to be at the best that they can be and play and do working in the best industries of their trade, right? If they're ambitious like Hatate is. And that, unfortunately for us, we don't play in the Premier League, and that's maybe where he wants to play. Now, I'm very aware there's a big game with a kick off in 2 minutes, so I'm just going to quickly. I was wanting to talk a wee bit more about this, but we've ran over. We can maybe talk about it next week, depending on where Canada are after this game. But just a big well done to our Canadian warrior at right back, Arthur Johnson, who's obviously into the semi-final of the Copa America. That's it. Is it Argentina they come up against?
If Argentina and Uruguay are playing Colombia in the other semi-final.
Yeah. So
come on, Canada.
He's been doing well from what's been said online. I haven't watched any of the Copa America. I've got our own Liam Greenlaw that's been obviously watching Canada. He's been going through the comments tonight, letting everybody know about certain other Canadians that we should be looking at. So maybe they'll be linked with some Canadians after they return from their Copa America, because we can't sign players if they're out on tournaments. That's the rule.
Apparently,
Okay. Quickly though, Phil, I'll let you round this one off quickly for me. If he's having such a good season, does he then become more difficult to keep a hold of, and maybe we see him move on in the summer?
To Alistair Johnson,
yeah. If he's having a good tournament, clearly there'll be some eyes out there watching. Maybe.
I think Johnson will still be here for another year. But again, I think he's another one that will do a few years with us, and then he'll be moved on. Not for a huge profit, but again, as somebody I just see this, he'll be here for a few years, give us a good run at it, and then be so. But I don't think he'll go this summer. I don't think there's any danger of that. I think
I'd like to keep him.
Ideally, yes. That'd be great.
Right, okay, guys. That's us hit an hour. It's been 8 o'clock. Go and enjoy the football. Hopefully, it's not a snore fest, but it shouldn't be with Spain playing. They've been excellent so far. So good.
Who do you think will win?
Thanks everybody for joining us. There'll be more shows through the week, I'm sure, but you know when they are and you know what they're going to be. So
hit the subscribe button and you'll see them when they come online. Yep.
Exactly. Right. Take care, guys. Enjoy the football. See you next week.
Bye, guys. See you later. Bye.
Take care.